Hey everybody, Scott Willoughby here, Director of Operations Success at PlayFab. Today we're going to talk about competition best practices. As you can see, ready, fight! Know your competition doesn't always have to be a battle, doesn't always have to be a fight. Here's the thing, we get a lot of people asking about competitions, running events and competitive events within their games. And these can be really good, really great motivators. I mean, from little tiny things to resetting new leaderboards every week, to huge things like Valve's recent Dota 2 tournament that had a $6 million top prize, I think. Any way you slice it, these can be really effective tactics for driving engagement and even driving spend within your games. So it's hard to talk about the best model for a competition in games in general because every game is really different. And what makes sense for a match 3 casual game isn't probably going to make a lot of sense for a massive MOBA of some kind. So I'm going to leave the actual structure of how you form a competition to you because you know your game better than I do. But I do want to talk about 3 key things that you should always consider when you're thinking about doing a competitive event of some kind in your game. These are audience, incentive, and action. Audience first is exactly how it sounds. Who is this competition for? Which part of your audience do you really want to attract? Is this something that you are trying to do to get low engagement players back into the game? Is this something you're doing to reward your very high engaged users, your best users? Is this something you're doing to try and motivate users to try out part of the game that they might not normally be using? So think about the audience that you want to appeal to, who's going to find this most interesting and who's going to be most valuable to. And in that, by defining who the audience is, you're going to be able to look at these other 2 things. One, your incentive. What's the reward here? Why do I want to participate if I'm a player? Am I going to get access to free content, some sort of special item? Am I going to have the opportunity to win something of value? Am I going to get double XP for the week or for the day? Why do I want to come in? I mean, competitions are often an appointment mechanic of some type, right? They're usually time limited, very specific. There's some sort of entry element involved. So think about, why am I going to go through all of the hurdles and all of the demands that you're putting on me in terms of possibly spending money, coming back and disrupting my schedule to come play at a certain time, perhaps do things in the game that I'm not usually comfortable with or wouldn't normally do. Why am I going to cross the hurdles that you want me to cross in order to get a reward that is valuable to me? You got to figure out what that reward is to properly incentivize me to do the actions that you as the game want me to take. And the third thing is, what are those actions? Now this is kind of twofold. What are the stipulations? What are the criteria for entering the contest? What do we have to do to be part of it? And then also, what is it you want your users to accomplish? Again, this goes back to audience and your real motivations for holding this. Is this a revenue driver? If it's a revenue driver, obviously the goal, the action you want to accomplish is you want people to spend money in the game, right? So that might be entry tickets of some kind. It might be giving them special deals, special discounts on items or content or powers that are going to help them do better in the competition. So if that's the case, those are conversion actions, and you want to, again, properly incentivize players and make the contest appeal to people who are likely to undergo those actions. You also have to think about the actions that they need to take to enter the contest, right? So it's not only to what you want them to do during the contest and what value you want to get out of them during it. It's also, what's the barrier to entry you're setting up, and are you clearly communicating what somebody needs to do to participate, and are you properly incentivizing them to make it worthwhile? So these all play together. It's not a linear thing. You have to think about, who are you talking to, what do you want to get out of them, and how are you going to encourage them to do that thing you want them to do? This can take so many different forms. I've seen and run competitions in the spirit of doing a lot of things. Motivating spend in order to hit certain revenue goals that the company might have in a short period of time. Raising money for charity. Trying to get users to participate in an element of the game that we know drives good engagement. Trying to get more users into a high engagement pattern of play. You can do these as ways to incentivize and drive action of almost any kind you want, but that only works if you really think about, what's the right audience to appeal that to, what is the action you want to drive, and how are you going to incentivize it. So really think about these 3 things when you're considering doing any contest. Don't just put it out there and go, hey, this sounds like a fun contest to me, I'll just blanket it out to the world. Really think about your audience and the story you're telling and how that makes sense for them to engage in the game in the way that you want them to, and you'll have much more success with any of the contests you decide to run.